Even a child is known by his behavior. His actions show if he is innocent and good. Let's recap. We talked about loving God first and then loving others second, as yourself. Then we talked about joy and finding joy in God alone. We talked about how God gives us peace even when things are crazy. And then we also talked about patience and how we need to wait on God and call on Him for that patience. So what I want to talk about today is this verse, which talks about the idea of your reputation. I wonder if you know what a reputation is. Well, let's talk about it. Even a child is known by his behavior. His actions show if he is innocent and good. Now remember, that's God's goodness working in us. We need to remember that. So, pretend you want to draw a picture of a giant dinosaur. What might you need to draw it? You might find a picture of a dinosaur from a book or the internet, right? And that's what you could use as an example to draw your picture. Just like that picture would be an example for you, you can be an example for others by what you do. We call that our reputation. So, our verse talks about every child having a reputation. People are always watching what you do, especially younger children. So you're usually either setting a good example or a bad example. When someone says your name, what do people think? Maybe they think, oh, he's fantastic. He always does great stuff. He's always helpful and kind. Or are you the kind of person who, when people talk about your name, they say, oh, he's always lying. Or he's always mean to me. Your reputation is important. Let's also talk about another word. It's the word integrity. And integrity means always being honest and living a life that is right. If you have integrity, you choose to do the right thing when you're tempted to sin. And integrity also means doing the right thing when an adult or a parent is not looking, because you know it's the right thing that God has called you to do. You won't always have your parents, teachers, or siblings watching everything you do, and sometimes you'll be all alone, and you'll realize that if you sin, no one will know. But is that true? It's important to make the decision in your heart before you get to the point, so you'll already know what to do. So I wonder how you could be a good example to show integrity to others this week. In the story that we're going to read today, it's a really good example of how somebody has a really good reputation. He has excellent integrity. And I wonder if you can see why his reputation is good. Do people trust him? Does he do kind things? Does he show kindness to people? Does he do extra more than he needs to do? What are some ways that show he has a really good reputation and he's using integrity? Here Comes Daryl by Lita Schubert, illustrated by Mary Azarian. The thermometer reads 2 below zero and it's snowing hard at 4 a.m. But Daryl is ready to work. I'll be home for breakfast, he says to Judy. I'll make eggs and home fries, she promises. The main roads will be cleared by the town's snowplows, but people with long driveways will be trapped without Daryl. His old truck starts on the second try, and Buster jumps into the front seat. It's so cold that Daryl's nose hairs freeze. As he pulls away, he notices his barn roof sagging under the weight of the snow. First, Daryl plows out folks who must get to work early. Porch lights flash in thanks, and he blinks his headlights back. His stomach growls as he glimpses a neighbor making breakfast. By 7 a.m., he has plowed 21 driveways. The truck radio blares. All local schools are closed. Good thing, right, Buster? Buster barks. The roads are too slippery for school buses. The Hart's driveway is so steep and narrow that there's not much room to dump the heavy snow. As Daryl lowers the plow, the rear wheels slide off the road. He rocks the truck back and forth, back and forth. The tires swirl, the engine whines,
and the back end swings closer to the ditch. Come on, come on! Daryl thumps the dashboard. And the truck jumps forward. Buster almost falls off the seat. At the house, Tommy Hart waves. Mom says come have coffee. Tell her thanks, but I got lots more driveways. Can I help? For a minute. Tommy climbs onto Daryl's lap and they plow a hill of snow. Oh boy! Mom and I can go sledding! Tommy jumps down. She'll like that, Daryl says. He turns toward his 23rd driveway and begins to think about Judy's fried eggs. It's 40 degrees when Daryl finishes loading his dump truck on a spring morning. Winter weather hangs on forever in northern Vermont, and the air still smells like wood smoke. Since dawn, Daryl has been splitting logs. The Barretts had run out of firewood and called him in a panic. We don't know what I will be able to pay you, said Mr. Barrett. That's okay, Daryl said. Keep those kids warm. Just before Daryl leaves, Judy calls, Don't forget about our barn roof. Looks like a good wind will lift it right off. Daryl picks up Buster. I'll get to it soon, he says. Mud season has arrived, and the dirt roads are like chocolate pudding. The truck hits a rut and shoots sideways, sinking into a hole at the bottom of the Barrett's hill. Daryl and Buster wade through the mud up to the house. Looks like I'm stuck, he tells them. We're moving, says Mrs. Barrett. The Barretts and their 2 kids, David and Beth, help Daryl unload the wood. I'll be back for the truck, Daryl says. That evening, when the ruts freeze, Judy will bring him over on the tractor, and they'll pull the truck out. We'll drive you home, Mrs. Barrett offers. But come in first for some apple pie. No time, but I almost forgot these. He hands carefully carved birds to David and Beth. Will you teach me to whittle? Beth asks. Sure. When his own kids were little, Daryl taught them to whittle too. Beth grins. Then I'm going to learn to carve a dog just like Buster. It's 85 degrees and the black flies are biting when Daryl starts his backhoe. The Murphys are building a new room, and Daryl is the excavator. Judy reminds him about the barn. Winter will be here sooner than we think. It doesn't look that bad, Daryl says, but it does. The backhoe is a large machine, but Daryl is an artist. If a hammer drops on the ground, he can pick it up with a big bucket as if he's using tweezers. He begins scooping and moves load after load of earth. The Murphys arrive as he finishes digging. Andy Murphy throws a ball for Buster and it flies into the hole. Buster jumps in after it and can't climb out. Sorry, Andy cries. Don't worry, Andy. Daryl swings the bucket around, gently picks up Buster, and deposits him on the bank. Buster shakes off. You folks interested in a pond over there? Daryl asks. He points down the hill. It'll be great for frogs and birds. I want frogs, Andy says, and the parents nod yes. The Murphys hear the backhoe for the rest of the day. And the next, and the next. Every day, Andy brings his frog net and watches the pond fill with water. Autumn. It's 50 degrees and the wind is fierce when Daryl, Judy, and Buster climb into the old truck on a brilliant October day. They are off to visit neighbors to see what everybody needs before winter. Judy keeps a list. What about our barn? She asks. Tomorrow, I promise, Daryl says. And he means it, because soon the cows will have to come inside. Some people need to have their driveways fixed. Some need firewood. The wind picks up and the list grows longer. Tree branches crash onto the road, and Daryl holds tight to the steering wheel on a gusty hill. Now I'm worried about that roof, he says. When they get home, their barn roof is gone. Daryl slams on the brakes and jumps out of the truck. Buster runs in wild circles. They hurry to the barn, where the Harts and Barretts are already taking measurements. Mr. Murphy greets Daryl. We saw it go and rushed right over, he explains. We're going to have a roof raising, says Beth Barrett. Daryl looks so embarrassed that Mr. Murphy says, You've helped all of us over and over. We're happy to help you. Mrs. Hart leads Daryl to the table. We brought over some supper. Come and eat. It's getting dark outside, but inside it feels as if the sun is shining. Beth Barrett, Andy Murphy and Tommy Hart bring Daryl and Judy heaping plates of stew and pie, and everybody is safe and sound, even Daryl.
So, what did you notice? Did you see anything about Daryl that you thought to yourself, wow, he's showing a really good reputation? Was he cheating the people? Was he taking more money than he should have? No, he was doing the job of snowplowing out of kindness. Did he do things even when it was difficult? Yes, he chose to help people out even though it was difficult for him. He'd keep getting stuck in the mud, and he did it anyway. And what's another way that shows that people appreciated his reputation, the goodness that he showed? Well, if you noticed at the very end, they all came together and they helped him out and they said, "You've loved us so much, so we're going to love you and fix something for you." Think about today. How can you show goodness to other people? And what's your reputation going to be like over a long period of time? Are you going to be the kind of person that people say, "I can really trust you"? Or are you going to be the kind of person who chooses not to do that? I really hope that you call on God's goodness so that you can make the right choice.